Our parsha this week opens with God telling Moshe to command the people, "Vayichuli Terumah, take for me a donation," meaning here are a lot of items that we need in order to build the Mishkan, the tabernacle, the home of God's Shekhinah, His presence in the wilderness. And in order to build that, the Jewish people need to donate the items necessary. This is God's command. The Midrash in Shemot Rabbah takes this statement, Vayichuli Terumah, which is the odd nature of this phrase is that it should just say, take a Terumah. Why is it take for me a Terumah? An offering. So what is going on here? What can we learn from Vayichuli Terumah? And what's the message? Davar acher, Vayichuli Terumah. What do we learn from this phrase? What other phrase in Tanakh summarizes or captures what it means to give to me a donation? Hadahu dichtiv ki lekach tov natati lachem. The pasuk in Mishlei, which says that it's a good acquisition, a good transaction, a good item that I've given to you. And this item that's being referenced here is the Torah. God gave us the Torah. It's a lekach tov. It is a good taking. It's something that is a good acquisition. God gave it to us. Amar Rabbi Brachia HaKohen Barabi. Rabbi Brachia HaKohen, he says the following: Benohag sheba'olam adam mocher chayfetz betoch beito huatsev alav. The way of the world is that when a person sells an item that they have, they are distressed and saddened by this. Now, this may seem odd to us in 2021, but here's an aside, a really important aside to help understand what that phrase means. We live in a time where items are mass-produced, and therefore, so many of us, at a certain point, we can't wait to get rid of our stuff. We go places and give away our stuff for free because we want to get rid of the clutter at times. In a time gone by, there was no such thing as mass-produced products. And when you had something, the item was unique. It was special. Either you crafted it, you bought it because it was something that caught your eye. But how many people have the same item? Not very many. And they didn't have as much stuff as we have in the days of the Midrash and the Talmud. So this statement also appears in some ways in Masechet Brachot, that people, when they sell items in the days of the Talmud, would have been sad to part with their item. They are doing it because they are in financial distress in general. And so that's why here the Midrash is saying, Benoach Sheva Olam, normally people, when they sell it, they are sad that they are parting ways with their beloved, precious item. But you see, God parted ways and gave His Torah to the Jewish people, His special, precious Torah, and yet He was overjoyed that He could give it and share it with the Jewish people. Hevei lekach tov. That's the lekach tov, the special item and the transaction that He gave to us. Right? He was happy to give that to us. Midrash continues, and we'll come analyze every of these parts in a moment. But Noach Sheva Olam, normally in the world, Adam Lokeach Chayfetz Meitzar L'Shomra. When you acquire an object, you also acquire a responsibility, which is to watch over and to guard that object. Usually that's what happens. Specifically, if you buy a very precious item, an expensive item, and now you don't want your investment to get lost or be stolen, so you protect it, and that takes time and effort. Aval HaTorah mishameret be'aleha. The Torah protects its owner. As it says in Mishlei, behit halechecha tancheotach, as you're going, it will sort of give rest to you. Meaning, the Torah is going to make your life, as the owner of the Torah, the Jewish people, it's going to make your travels and your journey, it's going to make it just that much easier. It will guard you as you're on your way. Tanche otach. So that's statement number 2. And statement number 3 of this midrash is benoach sheba'olam. Normally in the world, adam lokeh chayfetz min hashuk. Normally a person goes to the market to buy an item. Why? Why might they go to the market? Why is it important they go to the marketplace to get the item instead of maybe going to a person's house? You know, they're a specialist in this. Why would they go to the shuk, to the marketplace, to buy something? Shema yochol liknot be'alav, because maybe you can also acquire the person who constructed the item, and they'll be able to work for you. They have a certain craft and a certain skill, and you'll hire them and make them an integral part of your life and maybe of your business. Aval HaKadosh Baruch Hu natan Torah liYisrael, but God gave the Jewish people the Torah. That's the chayfetz. That's the chayfetz that the Jewish people acquire. The Omer lahem, and God said to them, Kevayachol liatem lokchim. You know, you're not just getting the Torah, but you're getting me. You get me. Heve vayikchuli Terumah. That's what it's meant. The Torah means when it says that you acquired from me a Terumah. Meaning, you're acquiring me. Taking the pasuk out of context a little bit and saying that here you have a chance to build the Mishkan, the place that will hold my presence. And here you have gotten the Torah from me. The way of life, God's blueprint of how to live in this world. You didn't just get the blueprint, but when you build the Mishkan, you get me too. You get my presence there with you. You don't just get the item, you get the one who put together this item to come along for the ride. Meaning, when you usually go to the shuk, you're lucky if you can get the reason you buy from the shuk is because you want to try to, hey, can you come work for me? You're good at this, and you can help run this, aspect of my business with the item that you made. But God's like, here, I have this for you. You take this and take me with you. I'll come along for the ride too. So what do we learn from this midrash? It's cute, okay, you're acquiring from me a Terumah, meaning if you donate all these items, you're going to get me as well. What we learn from this midrash is the importance of how to give, of how to give ourselves to God. God, I think the idea is here about being reciprocating what God did for us. God did for us what human beings don't generally do, and that is just give their item and happily give their item to someone else. Say that item is going to actually help you. Following this item, this Torah, is going to make your way of life easier in that you don't have to protect it. That way of life will protect you. The Torah's way of life is the best way to live your life. And God also says that I'm coming along with you for the ride. You have the Torah, but part of what this is all about is that I want to have a relationship with you. And hopefully that will also be of service to you. It'll make your ability it'll make your practice in the Torah, your following in the Torah, that much more meaningful, because it's not just you follow a bunch of rules, but you've created a relationship with me, with God. And we need to learn from this how to give and how to give to God. And that's the thing that Vayikchuli Terumah, when God says give a Terumah, He's saying, I want you now to give of yourself. You need to build and construct the Mishkan, the tabernacle, with your things. Are you going to part with your gold, with your silver, and be happy? And look at this as a means to make your presence felt in my home. That you're allowing me, God's saying, you're allowing me to acquire you, the Jewish people. And we can feel close. And if there's a reciprocal attitude of giving and caring for the other side, that will be a meaningful relationship between the Jewish people and God. This is what both sides want and what both sides can benefit from. If the giving is done with a certain attitude of joy. And I think when we think about giving in general, not just in this context as we create our relationship with God, but we create our relationships with those around us. If we do so in a way when we give with simcha, and not just give out of obligation, and we give of ourselves and say, here, I'm coming over here. I know I'm giving you this item, I'm giving you this, but I'm invested in your best interests. We will create close relationships with those around us, just like we can create a solid and meaningful relationship with God above us. Have a wonderful week, everyone.